I'm Mike Dano with Light Reading, and I'm here with Lani Ingram from Verizon. And we're going to talk a little bit about smart cities and what Verizon is doing in smart cities. So, Lani, thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
And it sounds like you have been in the smart city industry since before it was called smart cities.
Since before it was a thing.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking about smart cities today, but I actually started this around 13 years ago, back when we were first trying to understand what city leaders are really worried about over the next 20 years. Meeting with leaders in small, tiny villages to large urban centers around the world, and understanding that over and over again the issue of urbanization became a big challenge. And how can technology help them deal with the growth of people coming into cities and being able to make life easier, better, safer for their citizens? It's been a fascinating journey.
Yeah, really. And you said it wasn't called smart cities; it was called.
One of our first names was intelligent urbanization.
Intelligent urbanization.
And it didn't roll off the tongue. No, a little too many syllables. So I think smart cities was better.
And so speaking of smart cities, so Verizon has inked a number of public-private partnerships for smart cities around the country and the U.S. And so maybe you can tell me a little bit about that, those public-private partnerships and why they're important for smart cities.
You know, one of the things that I love about this particular industry is the collaboration that happens between industry and government. The mayors are the ones who really just get everything done. And being able to really work with those mayors from the early onset of being able to think about smart cities, to know what their issues are, to know what their problems are, is really the premise of a public-private partnership. So I'll give a good example of that. We work with the city of Sacramento. And that was the first real public-private partnership that we did. And what was great, when I first met with the mayor, we tried to understand what his needs were. And he had this fantastic vision of trying to be a capital of tech, art, and food. And I loved that combination of technology and culture. It brings in the human element to smart cities. And then from there, we actually started working on the same side of the table, saying, you know, his biggest challenges were things like transportation, public safety, education, digital inclusion. We wanted to be able to do more with laying out our infrastructure so that we can give better services to the citizens. So we sat on the same side of the table and said, how do we support one another and also deal with issues that independently we can't tackle, but together we can actually solve. And that is the premise of a public-private partnership.
Okay. And you said Sacramento is one of sort of the marquee ones that you've signed. So what other cities are sort of in the pipeline for these? And are you looking to sign additional public-private partnerships?
We have signed quite a few public-private partnerships at this stage. Sacramento is definitely the first one, so we were able to innovate a lot of it with them. But since then, cities like San Jose, cities like Boston, you know, we've been able to do a lot more. And every city is different. The city of San Jose, for example, digital inclusion is incredibly important, and we double down on our focus on that with them.
Okay. And any other cities that we may expect, or are you spending your time in any other cities around the country right now?
We are in around 50 cities, actually, working on different type of use cases. Exactly. So in some cities it might be oriented more towards, say, a very scaled approach towards lighting control and being able to have a very strong ROI on that. Other ones might be more oriented towards public safety type solutions. Others might be more on traffic management or a combination. Right. That's the beauty about working with cities, is you really got to understand what their needs are and then make sure that we build the technology to meet those needs, and then ensure the infrastructure that we're building with our communications activities are actually in support of all of that as well.
Those goals. And tell me what the evolution looks like sort of as time goes on for smart cities.
You know, smart cities has been evolving over this past 13 plus years. The first several years of it is what I call Smart Cities 1.0, where we were really evangelizing the use of technology to improve citizen services and government processes. Smart Cities 2.0 is really where I think most cities are today, and that's in the world of innovation. We're actually co-creating together. We might be doing a neighborhood or a street and really testing out those solutions. Cities are learning how to develop that. The industry is actually testing out their products. Where I'm thinking that Smart Cities is going now in the future is really when we're hitting a Smart Cities 3.0 model. 3.0 is when a city is serious about moving a metric. I want to be able to ensure that traffic congestion is being reduced by 25% by the year 2023. That's a real metric that's going to require a different type of collaboration with partners, where we start doing things at scale. We start thinking about long-term operations and managed services, and we start thinking about really deep, long-term relationships, because these smart city activities don't happen overnight. They're a long-term play. So I'm seeing the industry starting to move now between 2.0 into 3.0, where we get the scale and we actually see ourselves moving a metric for a city.
So we're here at the big Mobile World Congress
Yes.
trade show, and you can't walk 2 steps without talking about 5G. So last question for you is, how does 5G sort of related to this? Is 5G a big part of the discussions that you're having with these cities?
5G has been a very good catalyst for us to be able to look at how to build that smart city for the future.
Mm-hmm.
When you start thinking about actually doing a smart city, you got to think about 10, 20 years out. And that means we got to build today for what we want to be able to see in the future. And whether that is autonomous vehicles, whether there are solutions for traffic and parking or public safety that really require more visual-based activity that we need the bandwidth, the latency for autonomous. These are conversations that are happening today between Verizon and the city leaders to ensure that we're building out that 5G infrastructure in a way that will enhance the innovation capability for the cities, but then also really make sure that we're building for those future needs. How does AR, VR play into people's experience? Making sure that in densely populated areas, we have that type of activity laid out. And then what do we do in other areas to ensure that the right connectivity solution is actually there so that we are inclusive across the community?
Okay, interesting stuff. Well, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.